I'm actually really curious as to how long Mishima is going to hold out on showing exactly what this cat dude Goodwin can do. Because, granted, he is a gigantic cat, but, I mean, if he's going to be somewhat relevant in this arc, you know, in an upcoming potential, like, large-scale war, I would assume, and I think a lot of people are going to assume he's going to have a really good ether gear. And we have a noting in this chapter that he's got, like, a pretty high amount of just general ether. I think it was Pino just says that, oh, he's got, like, a high ether reading, so he's got to have something impressive. And he is also a giant cat, so he's going to have a, like, general, probably, I would guess, like, nimble speed, like a cat, but also very, you know, very strong. I mean, he's, like, gauging off sheet. This guy's probably, like, 30 feet tall, if not more. I mean, he's just gigantic. I wonder, I'm actually really curious now that I think about it. It's like, is he an Exceed? Because obviously in the Eden Zero universe, the Exceeds are from a different planet. They're, you know, their own thing. It might just be and the Easter egg could it eventually go there, who knows. But, you know, is this guy maybe just a big cat? Maybe he's just a big humanoid cat from a whole different species. Either way, he's interesting. Like, in the general aspect of it, I never would have guessed that, you know, we were going to get some, like, 30-foot cat as, like, an ally coming up to the battle against Shura and Nero and everybody coming up. But the whole part with him being a fan of Rebecca, I actually did like. I thought that was actually kind of funny. Just out of, like, you know, she's got her whole, you know, her whole, was it Blue Cat? I'm trying to remember what it is translated. Blue Cat channel. And then here is this other, like, big cat dude. He's just an actual cat who's a fan of her style. And after that was revealed, she remembers that, oh, you know, she had this, she has, like, a follower that is Ao Neko. And he actually will donate to her very regularly. And she was, like, really happy, you know, thanks for the support. I can understand, like, you know, when you have a small channel and you got, you know, a good couple people that are always, you know, throwing some tips your way, being really appreciated, that you're gonna know that these guys are some of the rare people that are willing to try and help you go by, and especially if it's consistent. It would be like, oh, you know, you know, a strong follower that is happy with what you're doing and wants to see you know, you keep succeeding. So that was nice. And on top of that, there was, like, the part where his, you know, one of his underlings, I don't want to say minions or lackeys, because it seems like they're kind of more like, they're not like the same as obviously, they're not like a just, oh yeah, he's the boss, that's all that matters kind of thing. You know, I can imagine they get along pretty well, but, like, they're like, you know, you're spending all our funds on, you know, on some random beekeeper, and he's like, it was my own personal money, don't worry about it. I'm curious to know, like, how much did this guy actually spend would be, like, the big question. I mean, he can do whatever he wants, but at the same time, it's like you're gearing up for potentially a war like, across this cosmos, and he's, like, you know, donating to some beekeeper who's, granted, like, the funny thing about Rebecca is, like, Rebecca's nice, and, like, we know that, like, her problem is she's just really bad at making videos, so, like, he's definitely a dedicated fan at that point, because, like, what are the ones that she's just, like, has them end abruptly without, like, a proper ending? So at least he's like like fully supported. The reactions from her are actually really funny in the chapter, of, like, whenever she's just, you know, having a nice like thank you time talking to him. I actually thought that was just real nice wholesome moments to put in this chapter. It's like, hey, we're gearing up for war, but let's just put this in here. And we found out a little bit of what the all-link system is. But on top of that, we saw some more of his members. Like, the ones that have been consistent, you have the one dude that let him in, like, the guy who's got, like, the pompadour. You have, like, a little kid, or at least a short dude in, like, a rabbit suit. And then you have, like, there's this, like, weird robot guy. I don't remember if I saw him in the last chapter, but he got his own panel, and he looks unique enough and stand out enough that I would assume this guy is going to, you know, get a name and be, like, a little bit more of his own character, but who knows. That whole portion, I thought that was interesting. I would assume it's not just going to be Goodwin, and we got the one alien guy, but at the same time, is it just going to be Goodwin who can fight? Maybe, like, one of the other guys can also, you know, throw hands and stuff. But we found out more about the all-link system. We actually saw, like, a good bit of the people's responses in across like Aoi Cosmos. The first guy, I like the guy was like making fun of like Shura. He's like, oh, is the Emperor's son stupid? And I'm just like, man, you gotta be careful, because like this isn't like the Aoi Cosmos isn't the same thing as like just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna slander this this guy that's like maybe like in charge, maybe like an elected figure or something, where you can get away with that because it's like, oh, you can because I know there are like certain rules to public figures, like people like that, but it's like Nero's an emperor and Shura is his adopted son. That's a royal line, and I wouldn't imagine insulting them is probably the best idea. Like, I will not be surprised if we get a panel of Shura just killing this dude at some point. And they got like one dude talking about like from a religious view, saying they need to like abandon robots. This is like God's will and stuff. I thought that was like an interesting bit to put in the chapter. Just having a couple characters have responses to this. It doesn't need to be like name people or anyone really important. You just have the general idea of like how the people are responding to it. But at the end of the day, like I don't really think they're gonna care too much about the people, just because, again, Nero is not he's not the president. He doesn't really need, I would imagine, the people's support. Like, he is an emperor. He rules over this place, and he does it with like he's got his odd dice and his he's got all these forces. What are these guys really gonna do if they just don't approve of him? I don't imagine anything, unless they plan on overthrowing him. Then good luck. Lobelia was also in the chapter. I don't think we really need to talk much more about her. She's just doing her thing of being an awful person. We don't like her. She's continued, like, not evil, but I always say she's like a sitcom bully. Like, everything that she ever does is like really, really low tier mean, but it's mean nonetheless. And every time you're just like, man, I don't want Lobelia to get tortured again, like what happened with Drac and Joe. That was too far for what she's done. But, if she can just, like, get embarrassed in public, like, something happens to her, she trips and falls in some mud, or something like that, and, like, in some fancy clothes, just has a bad day, that is more of, like, the karma I can see coming around for her. But anyway, let's take on Lobelia too much. I don't think Lobelia is much of a thing that most people want to talk about, other than, like, the only thing I ever really want to talk about her is, like, that kind of, again, that gray area that she exists within. Not a villain, but still not somebody we like. And Shiki's obviously really upset over like them talking about like if they're gonna kill these robots. He's like in tears. He's not happy about this, and he's getting all worked up. And that's when we get the description of the all-link system. And what it is like all the water, like the ocean that's like scattered around the Aoi Cosmos. Every few years it enters a state of high tide, and when that happens, the water like is touching essentially all the planets. Like they describe that they have their own. Like, there's, like, an ether layer around them, so it's not like it touches the planet, but it'd be like outside of that bubble that they all have. The water is just completely coating it. Like, it's not touching the planets, but it's touching the ether bubbles that are essentially around it. And because of that, they're all kind of connected. They say that the ether and the electricity combined, so that's what makes the all-link system. And in those 3 days, they're going to end up using the all-link to shut down all the machines. Obviously it's gonna be a dangerous setup. I'm very curious as to what Ziggy's plan is to be. I'm guessing Ziggy's gonna use the all-link to spread his virus to all the machines at once in the Aoi Cosmos, or at least he's going to try to. We'll have to wait and see about that. I mean, that to me just seems like the most logical thing he would want to do with this, like trying to bait everything going on with Shura at all-link. So we'll see how that exactly goes, because I would assume, similar to Forestra, that he would only be able to do, like, even with that big satellite, you'd only be able to do one planet at a time. And granted, that satellite was still fairly big. Like, we saw like how big it was compared to like Wise's ship. It's not like it's not like a real life satellite size, because I actually don't know how big that would be in comparison. Like, I realized I just never really thought about how big. Probably like how big like a real life satellite is. I know they're not that huge, but then they're of decent size. Whereas the one that Muller was on was essentially like a small space station and stuff. Well, probably like a fairly sized space station. And Forestro, though, was a planet, but it's not that big. You know, I like looked into how big it was. It's somewhere like around like 6 to 7 miles across. I mean, that's still impressive to be able to like affect that much of range of machines. But the all-link system is a complete cure for that, because if he can get to that and then infect everybody, that's everybody like all the machines at once. I would assume that way, Cosmos. And then we have like a bunch of Nero's people showing up to attack, showing up to try and, you know, attack the rebels, take them out. And I'm wondering if they're gonna have to like leave now, because maybe that'll be one of the things that gets the Eden Zero crew on their good point, because like we know that they defended them, they took down these soldiers while they were attacking, but will they have to maybe like get on the Eden Zero to leave, and then maybe like while they're on their crew, they like on their ship, they'll be like, we could probably more than likely use you guys' help. That was a good yawn. I like had a couple yawns during this just because it's early in the morning. It's like 4 a.m. for me, so I'm just getting this while getting prepared, everything I need for like work and stuff. So any couple second pause in this is probably me yawning. Just knowing I'm trying really hard not to have the yawns in the recording, but at the same time I'm trying to play them off. But that one was too long. So a couple points earlier, I know that I had like a yawn and probably like a 2 to 3 second pause, but that one right there was like 4 to 5 seconds. So I just figured out how to answer that. But at the end of it, like, you know, we see the Eden Zero crew do their thing, fight these guys. I really want to see Wise's upgraded self the most, just because, I mean, one, it automatically plays in the Arsenal suit. I want to see the Arsenal suit again. Like, he's got probably the coolest power right now to the Eden Zero crew, just because his base ability is really cool. Like his base ability isn't the coolest one. It's definitely the most useful in a lot of situations, but at the same time, I'd say like just because like he made a power suit in order to fight with it, that he can you know, mess with his ether gear, or mess with it with his ether gear, is just really cool in general. But Shiki just uses gravity that slams a bunch of these dudes into the ceiling. Like, all the main cast members are just beating up on all these guards, taking them out, and being like, hey, we can talk later. We have to go save the marketplace. And so the next chapter, we're probably gonna get some battles like in the bazaar, and I'm gonna assume there's gonna be like maybe a bad guy of value. Who knows? Maybe one of the oceans is gonna be there, and we'll get to see the characters fight them. Or maybe some of, actually, not the Ocean, so it'd be some of, not B Squad 1, but, like, other equivalent Squad 1s. And we can see, like, the cast fight them. Because that'd be pretty cool. That'd be a good way to kind of get their benchmark of where they're at power-wise, moving forward. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter. I think the next chapter, actually, I'm going to go back and look before I do this, of what this chapter was called. Because I actually didn't look at the title for this chapter, but I did see, yeah, chapter's called Goodwin. I think the next chapter is called Imperial Dice, so I'm guessing that's going to have to do with Nero's, Nero's ability with his dice, and probably what his ether gear is, and we get a description of him. I actually really want to know what his power is, just because the whole dice aspect is really interesting. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, put on the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate how many stars you're at. Thank you all for listening.